Pizza guys of Reddit, what's the strangest thing you've seen when delivering pizzas? I deliver for DoorDash and Grubhub, sometimes pizzas. One time I picked up an order from each app, same exact order, from the same restaurant, both named James, to the same hotel. When I knocked on the door, two guys were there and asked me which was I, DoorDash or Grubhub. I told them I was both and have both orders. They started to laugh really hard. When I asked what was so funny, they told me they had a bet on which one would come first. They thought it was going to be two different drivers and never thought one person would be using both apps. I laughed too and asked them which one was James. They told me they are both named James. I still wonder what other funny things those two guys try come up with. One time I, a retired Pizza Hut driver, and a Papa John's driver were at an apartment at the same time. We both start walking up the stairs. After the third flight I asked her, "Are you going to 308?" We had a good laugh knowing we were going to the same place at the same time. The ladies at the apartment laughed pretty good when we were both standing there when they opened the door. One of the funniest moments I had while delivering. Customer paid with a card and he had instructions to leave the pizza on a bench in a public area. Drop it off and quickly leave the area. I left but pulled on a side street where I could see the bench. I wait probably close to 5 minutes and then I see a man bust out of a dilapidated building I thought was empty. He runs up and grabs the pizza. He spins a whole 360 degrees and he is glancing in every direction as if he was afraid he was being watched. Then he hurries back to the place and when he gets to the door he sees me and his eyes get huge and wide, paranoid and fearful. He slammed the door shut. I just think he was tweaking or something wouldn't be out of the ordinary around here. I don't know if this counts as strange, but there was this one house I'd frequently deliver to. Polite woman in her late 20s maybe early 30s would answer, and every time I'd deliver pizza there, her 3-year-old son would run up all excited and say thanks dad or craziest coincidence. I delivered pizza to this guy. He tipped me with $3 2 bills 2 months later. I went off to college, 750 miles away, and he was my intro calculus professor. I delivered to a hotel in the middle of a local golf course. Called the number to let them know I was there and was told to come on up. Get to the room and when the guy answered, there was a large group of guys, all in golf attire, surrounding a single guy in a chair. He was bound and blindfolded. The one that answered didn't even bat an eye, just asked how much and tipped me $30 bucks. Warily I took the money and walked away, but before the door was fully closed, I heard one on the guys ask, "I wonder if he knows this is a." Before I even left the parking lot, the guy that answered the door called me to say that the bound guy was his brother and he was bound and blindfolded because it's his bachelor party and the stripper was waiting to come out. I just showed up way earlier than they thought I would. I like how you minded your business and took the money like a true professional. Figured the bound guy seemed to be happy so it wasn't my place to say anything. Some dude opened the apartment door completely naked. I was stunned but what came after that made me ask myself, is he some kind of fucking magician? He put a hand behind his back and pulled a wallet. Only reasonable explanation I could give myself was that he tucked the wallet between his butt cheeks. Quite the power move tbh. Establishing dominance is key. I was delivering a pizza to this house in a pretty rough neighborhood. These 3 cholos answered the door and when the one guy stepped back to get the money I noticed huge amounts of money, and so much meth and enough weed to kill Snoop Dogg and around 20 guns. I was so scared. He gave me a tip of $20 cash and told me not to tell anyone. Hopefully they aren't Redditors. Just simply coming up and there were 3 guys in underwear waiting for me. Handing the pizzas over and more just start coming out in underwear and these were also wearing cowboy hats and native headdresses. Some kind of bro Halloween party or something. Got to grab my tip out of the dude's bra. It was funny as hell but when I left the building I had to process for a moment what the hell happened. Some guy ordered a large pep pizza. When I got to the house he wasn't there so I called him out. He told me he was in the bathroom taking a shit and I had to wait 18ish minutes to get my pay. Shoulder taxed him a slice or 2 for the wait. Lol, I wouldn't even be mad if he really waited 18 minutes for me to answer the door. Just the other day showed up to a house to be greeted by two guys, about 25, on the roof in underwear, clearly ecstatic about the pizza being delivered. Did you Walter White the pizza up there? I once delivered a pizza late at night. The person who took the call told me that the person who ordered, let's call him Mark, was an old man and may take a while to get to the door. I get to the house and all the lights are off, no car in the driveway. I ring the doorbell, no answer. I knock on the door, no answer. I call the person's phone, no answer. Call again, still nothing. At this point I had waited for about 15 minutes for this person and was walking back to my car to leave when I hear the front door open, so I go back. Again, there aren't any lights on, so I can only see the head of a young woman peek from behind the door, and she refuses to open it all the way, even to take the pizza. I then hear another woman behind her saying who cares if he sees, open the door, so she opens it a little more to sign the receipt. She couldn't see, so I offer to shine my phone's flashlight so she can sign the receipt. I then realize that both of these women are naked. Me being the good employee, I was averted my eyes as she signed the receipt and I start walking back to my car. As I was walking away, one of the women yells to me, "Have a good night, you know Mark is," and I burst into laughter as I had totally forgot that this was the house of an elderly man. Mark can't come to the door, he's tied up. I had two teenage girls open the door in their underwear, as a joke I guess. They were probably 16 or something. They think it's funny, but I had to report it to my manager and hope nothing came of it. I was like 20 at the time. Something similar happened to me recently, except with a younger girl. This lesbian couple lives in my apartment complex with a 12-year-old. They'd often leave her home alone and she'd come knocking on my door asking to use my cell phone to call them. Apparently, they didn't trust her with a cell phone and they didn't trust her with access to the Wi-Fi when they weren't home. It was annoying, but I didn't think much of it until one night she showed up wearing a bathrobe. She wasn't locked out, so it didn't make sense for her to not put on clothes to come knock. She came back like 3 times that night. The last time her robe kind of came open, she wasn't wearing a bra, and she didn't really try to fix it. After that I didn't answer the door for her anymore. I asked a female friend to come over the next night to answer the door for me. She told her that we wouldn't be letting her use our phones anymore until her parents came and told us that's what they wanted. She offered to ask them for her. The girl never came back to my door again after that. I have no idea what the fuck was going on or who she was calling on my phone, but I was paranoid Chris Hansen would be coming to visit me any day. Had someone answer the door once with a snake on his shoulders. Not like a milk snake or a garter, but a ball python. Probably about 6 feet long. As he closed the door I heard him say to someone that I hadn't reacted at all. Lol. Sounded so disappointed. Edit to clarify, this was almost a year ago. I am not a snake expert, so it is quite possible I misidentified the species. Thanks to those who pointed out my mistake. Ball pythons are super friendly. I delivered a pizza to a young girl who was home alone, and when she opened the door her dog immediately ran away. I handed her the pizza, got in my car, found the dog and returned it. She left me no tip, so I was feeling kind of salty about it on the way back to the restaurant. A few hours later her mother called the store asking to speak to me. She thanked me and explained they had left tip money, but their daughter was so upset about the dog she forgot to give it to me. I worked at this pizza place for 2 more years through college, and they would get 2 large pepperoni pizzas and request me to deliver it every week after that. They always tip me at least $25. $25 x 52 weeks a year x 2 years is $2,600. Well played. Back in college when I used to deliver pizzas, I delivered to the local county jail. An officer was taking someone to jail. The guy going to jail, still with his hands cuffed behind his back, got away from the officer and took off as I was walking in and ran into me. I'm pretty sure this guy was tripping on meth. The officer caught up to both of us on the ground and were able to subdue him. I was covered pizza sauce and the officers on shift took the pizza, paid, and each gave me $20. I told my manager and we remade the order for the officers and I re-delivered the order. The police were grateful and I was given another tip. One deliver and I made about $400. I should add every time they ordered pizza from us again they always requested the guy who knew how to take a charge and would always tip me well. Good times. I was delivering a pizza to a high-rise once on a Saturday night. Got in the elevator and there was a guy dressed like a pimp who tried to buy my pizza from me that I was about to deliver. He didn't even ask what kind or what size, he just pulled out a $100 bill and said I buy that for $100 and I politely turned him down. So he pulled out another $100 and offered me $200. I told him I could get fired. Man, that was hard to turn down. Here's where things get totally fucked up. When I get to the door of the guy I am delivering it to, he opens the door and is dressed like a pimp also, like, huge colorful jacket, and he grabs the pizza and gives me a $100 bill and shuts the door. Pizza was about $35, so a $65 tip. TLDR, got the biggest tip of my life from a guy dressed like a pimp just seconds after turning down the biggest bribe of my life from another guy dressed like a pimp. Pimp friends were definitely testing the loyalty of their local pizza store. Not mine. My father's story from back when. Was delivering for Domino's into a quite wealthy area. Knocks on the door, but of shuffling around inside. Guy opens it wearing a silk smoking jacket. Woman in the background on the couch full naked. Hands my dad $100 bill for the one pizza order and asks, if you can go grab me a gallon of milk and bring it back. Keep the change. They got their milk. Glad I'm not the only one who likes that combo. Milk and naked ladies? I see you also are a man of culture. I walked into a hotel room. There was a guy in a towel, a girl covered by blankets in the bed, and a handyman installing a pole. Another time, I was met by a woman who decided that wearing pants was optional. Delivered a pizza to the back door of a funeral home. Two guys in their 20s answer the door, both wearing long black rubber aprons over their shirts and ties, and long black rubber gloves. The aprons were glistening with some fluid or other. Fortunately the guy paying took off his gloves before pulling out his wallet and paying. I was only 18 at the time. Kinda freaked me out. To the point that today, 42 years later, I still remember it. Hey Steve, do you think we should wait till after the embalming to order pizza or it'll be fine? A previous co-worker of mine delivered pizza when he was in college and he told me that he once pulled up to a house and a group of high schoolers ran across the street with a finish line when he got there. They ordered from Pizza Hut and Domino's at the same time. I don't remember which one he worked for, but he won the race. I was delivering to a trailer park and heard the strains of bad karaoke from the driveway. Went and knocked on the door, was greeted by a 50-something couple in their underwear who insisted I come in to set the food down and receive payment. The guy offered me a beer and asked me to stay and party. I told him I couldn't, my boss would be mad. He started doling out my tip in ones, with which he would beckon and retreat deeper into the trailer. His wife kept eyeing me and giggling. I ended it at $3 worth of tip and just left as stoically as I could, then broke down laughing maniacally in my car. I never went inside a customer's house. I claimed it was store policy I wasn't allowed to, it should have been. The reason I started doing that was rather mundane though. No orgy, just spilled tomato sauce on a white carpet. I delivered a pizza to this house and when I was standing on the front steps waiting for the guy to pay I could hear all this hootin' and hollerin' from inside. The guy keeps looking back into the living room and laughing. After punching in his info he hands the machine back to me and says, "Fuck man, you gotta see this." He steps back and I walk into the living room where there's probably 5 other dudes watching some guy fuck this 700-pound woman's folded over stomach on a massive TV. They were probably summoning a demon. Not something I've seen but something I helped arrange for a pizza delivery guy. Worked at a pizza place in high school. One of the delivery guys was a former Army Ranger. He was a blast and loved practical jokes. Well, we had a new delivery guy start one night and the Army Ranger called and ordered pizza. We thought it would be funny to play a joke on new guy, so we asked Army Ranger to do something funny to new guy when he shows up. New guy goes out and delivers the pizza to Army Ranger, not knowing he also worked there, and when he came back he was very quiet and looked a little disturbed. I called up Army Ranger and asked him what he did to new guy. Army Ranger answered the door wearing his girlfriend's lingerie and an army helmet. Not the sight a new driver is hoping to see, I suspect. Edit. Thank you, kind strangers. When the karma is low and the upvotes are slow, I'll point to this thread as proof that I can read it. A guy was taking the order while his GF was blowing him. That was just creepy. Thanks science for online payments, since I didn't have to touch anything he handled. Showed up to a mansion in the rich part of suburbs. The house was completely dark, so I call the number. No answer. I get out and ring the doorbell 3 times. No answer. I start banging on the door and call again with no answer. All of a sudden the door flies open and some guy in his underwear and open bathrobe, breathing all heavy and sweating, reaches out, snags the pizza, just throws money at me and shuts the door. Another time I show up and the guy opens all excited with a big creepy smile on his face. Gestures me to come in and I say no. He won't do anything until I step inside. So I take a step in and he says to me, okay, so place the pizza on the floor right there, points to specific place, place the Pepsi there, points to coffee table, and put my breadsticks there, points to the opposite side of where the pizza is. I just look at him and say okay. As soon as I do it he says, okay, your money is on the floor by the door. Have an amazing day. Thank you very much. So I walked out backwards, not taking my eyes off him, grab my money and leave. Weird fucking people out there, man. He won't do anything until I step inside. Then I guess you're not getting this pizza. Lots of sword fights. You should have joined them. It was the wrong kind of sword fight. Or the really right kind. Makes me wonder what kind of swords. I delivered pizzas in college. Once, I delivered a pizza to a seemingly normal house. Some middle-aged guy answered the door and said, I'm waiting on my wife to get you your tip. I'm like, okay then. Then, I hear another man's voice say, I'll get it, and the front door guy screamed, oh no, not you Ronnie, you're naked. Delivered pizza for 2 years. The strangest thing was a woman ordering right next door, €2 extra for delivery. When she opened the door she was almost naked, wearing only a bra, had huge fake breasts and lip fillers, platinum long hair. Your textbook bimbo. The order was €18 and was already paid online. I told her it was already paid, however the lady took €20 out of her bra and handed them over to me, winked and said keep the change. Needless to say, it made my day. Edit. Fixed an error. Well, that's a big deliver. Years ago delivered pizza to an apartment every Thursday night. Woman, very attractive, would answer the door, usually totally naked, but always at least topless. Usually her boyfriend was there and naked. They acted as if it was perfectly normal, always tipped well, and if the boyfriend was there he would ask if I wanted to get high. One time I get there, boyfriend on the couch, both naked, and she says she doesn't have enough money for a tip, always paid with cash. Do I want to have a threesome? I declined, stating I had another pizza in the car to be delivered. I delivered there another 3 months and still got good tips, but she wasn't as friendly. I guess she felt rejected. I was working at Domino's and we received a call for 2 pepperoni pizzas, and when I showed up to the house there was an older looking man and his dog on the roof. He didn't say anything about being on the roof. I raised my voice to tell him I was the pizza guy and he just looked at me and then he just jumps from the roof. It was only about 10 or 11 feet high, but it was kinda scary. He landed fine and gave me the money. I asked him about the dog and he said that there was always an open window so his dog can get on there and see the stars at night. I hope this man and his dog are doing good. Posting for boyfriend, as he doesn't have a Reddit page. He delivered for Domino's a couple of years back, and called me one night because a delivery just messed him up. It was called to house, and a woman opened the door, but explained that he needed to go around to the door in the fence. It was for the people in the backyard. Okay, maybe there's a party? It's 8:30 on a Tuesday. He walked around the house and opened the gate in the fence and it's not a party. It's a grown man and his 2 kids living in her storage shed. They had a dangling light bulb, sleeping bags, clearly 2 child wants, and some bottled water. But these 2 kids under 10 are just playing around in the backyard while the dad sits on his phone. BF said they looked unkempt, their clothing seemed dirty, it just seemed really off. He tipped him, and my boyfriend walked our way, but he could see a bucket behind the shed too, and smell it. There were suitcases inside the shed too. He called me immediately, I work in the youth non-profit world, and asked what to do. He didn't want any involvement with calling someone about it, so I called for a wellness check for him to the local cops. Never did find out what was happening. About a year after I graduated high school, I delivered a pizza to an apartment. I opened the door and it's immediately obvious that these guys were smoking weed because the smoke is literally billowing out. I immediately hear, "Oh shit, is that?" Insert real name, and one of the guys sitting on the couch gets up. It's a guy who I knew from high school, who I was friendly with but was never friends with, now with long hair and wearing hemp robes. Guy gives me a hug, and the dude who ordered hands me some cash with a fat tip. I smelled like weed the rest of the night. That would leave some mark,